Well, welcome back. Now we're at video number 8. Now this video has a lot of information, so you might want to grab a pencil and a piece of paper. I am making sure that much of this is posted on my website, so you can go back and read that. So we're going to start by talking about vitamins and minerals. I know that sounds kind of boring, but it's really kind of interesting when you learn the diseases and the deficiencies, what can happen in the human body when you don't have enough of the vitamins. It was actually in 1905, somebody called Casimir Funk started studying vitamins. We knew about the disease beriberi, maybe you've heard about that. It's a degenerative disease that causes inflamed gums and dementia and deformed bones. And what he found was that people who had dementia were eating polished rice back in the 1900s. What's polished rice? It's rice that has the coating taken off. Where's all the nutrition? It's in the coating. So he then labeled that disease beriberi. Now since then we know there's other diseases like pellagra, which is a deficiency of niacin, vitamin B3. Scurvy, we know about scurvy, vitamin C. Rickets, vitamin D. So as a result, we started getting into knowing more about vitamins, and then came the vitamin supplement companies and all that. So today we don't have so many deficiencies, but you know what? Some things that I say is that we are maybe having enough food in our diet to stay well, but we really aren't functioning at optimum. So that's why you need to be eating whole foods. And I know I sound like a broken record, but you need to get back on whole foods, and that really solves the problem. One of your enemies is white. White flour, white sugar, white salt, white bread. These foods have no nutrition in them, so you want to be eating foods of color. Okay, let's start with vitamin A. Vitamin A is good for the eyes, the immune system, for acne. It's important for the bones. Vitamin A is really used by any body system that opens to the outside. Couple of symptoms of vitamin A deficiency. If you have bumps on the back of your arm, if you have really ridges on your heels, dry skin along the heels, that can be a sign of vitamin A deficiency. Get it in food. The foods that have the best vitamin A are sweet potatoes, carrots, and peppers. Now we have the B vitamins. I always call the B vitamins the stress vitamins. There's actually been studies done, and it's reported in Neurology Journal, that people who are low on B vitamins have smaller total brain volume. And we have a lot of B vitamin deficiency in America because it's found in deep leafy greens. They're found in whole foods. You know, we talked earlier on a slide about the enrichment program, which was begun 100 years ago, where they take the whole wheat, they turn it into white flour. It originally had 26 nutrients. Now with white flour, you have 4 or 5 added back. So it's a deficient product, enriched flour, and there is where you get your B vitamins, is in whole grains. Stay away from enriched products. Now we have vitamin C. We all know about vitamin C for colds. There's actually studies that have shown that it will lower cholesterol. In fact, in one study reported in The Lancet, if you took 1 gram of vitamin C a day, it actually lowered your cholesterol. Vitamin C is an antioxidant. You know, I have some recipes that I make. One is applesauce. And you put a tablespoon or teaspoon of vitamin C in the applesauce when you're making it. It keeps the apples from turning brown. It's an antioxidant. And so now we're going to go to vitamin D. Now vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin. The best way to get vitamin D is to get out in the sunshine. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Even 10 to 15 minutes of early morning sun, 2 to 3 times a week, is going to give you the vitamin D you need. You see, you have cholesterol on your skin, and when the sun hits that, it forms vitamin D. Now, 25 years ago, people weren't talking much about vitamin D, but today we hear vitamin D, vitamin D, vitamin D. It seems to be the new love child of the nutrition industry. It's very important. Like there was a study reported in Circulation Journal. It's very important for preventing heart disease. So you can get vitamin D in your foods. Again, here we go. The foods that have vitamin D are your fish, your nuts, and those sorts of things. You'll see a slide there that has the different foods that are very high in vitamin D. Let's move to vitamin E. Vitamin E protects the cells from damage. Now, you know what, I explain that like a car rusting. When you don't have enough antioxidants in your system, it's like internal rusting. Much like a car would rust, this is what happens inside. If you have enough antioxidants, this rusting doesn't happen. And so vitamin E is good for inflammation. The best way to get vitamin E is in foods. I want to just tell a quick story. When I first started getting into nutrition, very beginning, I got my hands on a little anecdotal book about foods that heal. And I had a friend, my little 5-year-old, had a friend, Rodney. Rodney had warts on his hands. He had warts growing on warts. It was just horrible. The poor little boy, you know, the friends made fun of him. His mother had him to the doctor. She had him burned off, and nothing worked. Well, I got my little book, and I saw that it said vitamin E is one thing you can do. So I said, well, have you ever tried vitamin E? I told her that, and I forgot about it. 3 weeks later, she called me and said, Rodney's warts are gone. She put vitamin E on him faithfully, and his warts went away. I want to tell you, just recently I was in Moldova, which is a country by Romania and Bulgaria, and it was part of the Soviet bloc. I was there on a missions trip, and I really found it very interesting. There were about 150 kids. It was summer school, between 5 and 15. And these kids, a lot of them probably were underprivileged, but they came for lunch. And what they would serve them for lunch was borscht, which is, I always thought it was just beet soup, but it really was a vegetable, kind of a watery broth, soup with lots of vegetables and maybe a little meat. Sometimes it would have chicken or some sheep. They eat sheep there. And they would have bread. And I watched those kids eat that soup with just passion and eat their bread, and they would have fresh apple juice, and then they would run out and play. And I said, you know, I wonder what would happen if you set that food, which is very high in nutrition, it was vegetables they grow, if you set that down in front of a group of American teenagers, what would they say? They'd probably say, where's the pizza? Where's the chicken nuggets? They would not know what to do with that soup. But I want to tell you, those kids are healthy. They're eating whole foods. We've been talking about that right along on these videos. And you know what else? Not an inch of fat on any of them. They were lean and mean and healthy. Let's move on now to some of the minerals. There's not a lot to say, I'm going to say about calcium, except you don't have to get it in milk. Actually, there are some foods that are higher in calcium than milk. I think it's collard greens. Now, I grew up on Southern food, and my grandma always made collard greens and was always sitting on the back of the stove with a big old slab of salt pork, and that would boil for hours. I'm not sure it was the healthiest preparation, but you can find really good ways to make some collard greens. Give it a try. Now we will move on to magnesium. On the slide, you're going to see chocolate. That doesn't mean Snickers. It doesn't mean the sugared candies. Dark chocolate, a little bit of it, hopefully lightly sweetened with honey or natural sweeteners. So it has magnesium. You know, we're very deficient in magnesium in America, very deficient. And again, it's the same thing. We're eating refined foods. Greens, deep leafy greens are very high in magnesium. There was actually a study on 30,000 males. They had a lowered risk of hypertension if they had magnesium. I want to tell you another story. Hope you don't get tired of my stories. This was my tax accountant. Robin was her name. I got to talking to her. She had had migraines her whole life. And she said, I would just barely get over a migraine, get back to work, and here would come another one. And she couldn't, the doctor couldn't, they didn't know what to do. She had tried everything. So she said, she did some reasoning in her mind, and she thought, when I was in labor, they gave me magnesium to relax me. I wonder if I took magnesium, if it might help relax my head. So she started taking magnesium, a calcium magnesium supplement. You know what? Her migraines went away. And she told me the doctor apologized to her later and said, I'm sorry, we did not study nutrition in school, but she was able to get over her migraines by getting some magnesium in the diet. So that might be it. And I think a lot of times now when you find the migraine formula, you will see, you'll see magnesium in there. Okay, now we'll move on to sulfur. Sulfur is the stinky mineral, you know, the smell of cabbage and broccoli and all that. But it's very good for you. The sulfur is very important. A number of young and older patients suffering from foggy memory were found to have a sulfur deficiency, and that was reported in a medical journal. So again, you don't have to go out and buy a bottle of sulfur, but you can sure eat some of those foods, huh? And we know a lot about the importance of broccoli and cauliflower. We hear about those foods. Okay, now zinc. Zinc is, you'll find that pumpkin seeds are a great source of zinc. It's in a lot of different foods, nuts and seeds. Zinc is good for the brain. There's actually been some studies that schizophrenia could be helped with some supplemental zinc. Now, let's see what else. Oh, it's good for the immune system. There's over 300 different reactions in the body that you need zinc to cause the reaction to happen. So again, get those zinc foods going in your diet. Now we'll move on. Next, we're going to talk about selenium. Now, it's interesting, Brazil nuts. Who eats Brazil nuts? You know, they're the highest food in the world in selenium. In fact, you can eat too many Brazil nuts and get too much selenium. One Brazil nut, one or two or three times a week is going to give you the selenium you need. So get some Brazil nuts and think about putting those in your system. So there you go. That's just an overview of some of the vitamins and minerals. You can certainly take a multiple vitamin. I think that's a good insurance policy to do that. Sometimes people will take a bottle or two of a specific vitamin that they need, maybe we'll go through one bottle, but getting it in the foods is really the best way to get those vitamins. Now we're going to move on to a new topic. Okay, I want to tell you, $3.35 trillion are spent annually for health in America. Much of that is hospitalization. I actually have a friend who went to the doctor and his blood pressure was almost normal and they insisted that he go on blood pressure medication. He said, why? Oh, here's your prescription, you need it. If we can start to make some of these changes that we're talking about, people are going to get better, they're going to get well. We can cut that cost simply by teaching people to do the right thing, eat the right foods. Okay, now we're going to go on to body language. And you know what? I took this information from Dr. Jonathan Wright, who I worked for 10 years. He's a world famous nutritional medical doctor. His book, this is from the Library of Food and Vitamin Cures. When Dr. Wright saw a patient, it wasn't take your blood pressure, take your weight, hand your prescription, and move to the next room, which a lot of medicine is these days. It was a full hour appointment. And I watched him. He was looking people up and down and observing their signs. It's called body language. You can really read the body like a book. My one son who had allergies, I had him when he was young. I had him in to see Dr. Wright before I worked for Dr. Wright. He was on the table and Dr. Wright was examining him. I had my 3-year-old in my lap and he said, this child has allergies, and he was examining him, and then he looked over at the child in my lap and said, that child has allergies too. And I said, how do you know? He said, look at his eyes. He was reading his eyes. So it's body language. It's so interesting. So here, let's just talk about some of the things you can watch for. Weak nails, cracking nails, can mean that you don't have enough protein, or you're not digesting your food. You're not getting the nutrition. Maybe you're eating it, but if you don't have enough stomach acid to break it down, it's not going to absorb. So think about stomach acid, maybe a digestive enzyme, if you have weak nails. There's those dark circles. You see those? They're called allergic shiners. You see it in kids, and they get a crease right across here. It's called a Denny's lines. And they also do a military salute. And this is what they call a military salute when they're pushing up, their nose is running. Think food sensitivities if you see that in your kids. Persistent cracked lips. Think vitamin 2 or riboflavin. This is classic nutrition 101. You'd learn this if you took a nutrition class. Cracks in the lips. And there are some foods there for you that you can eat. Canker sores, ouch, they're miserable, aren't they? Think about probiotics. Maybe your stomach acidity is off, or your body acidity. Check for food sensitivities. I saw this clinically so much. People who were eating foods they were allergic to or sensitive to will cause canker sores. Also, check the internet. I don't have one. I may put one on the website, but you may find an herbal remedy that will help take some of that pain. Bleeding gums. Think folic acid. By the way, this is all from Dr. Wright's book. This is his body language that he does when he sees a patient. Think folic acid mouthwash if you have bleeding gums. Also coenzyme Q10. A swollen tongue. There's so many things on the tongue. This is just one I picked. A scalloped tongue. Look at this, the scalloped tongue. That maybe could be from the teeth rubbing, but it's most likely due to food sensitivities if your tongue looks like that. Dry skin. You need more essential fatty acids. Where do you get those? You don't get them in soft drink and hamburgers. You get essential fatty acids in nuts and seeds and fish and olive oil, those sorts of things. Varicose veins, think flavonoids. Eat your red and green vegetables. You get magnesium, a relaxant, and fiber. If you're constipated and you're having downward pressure, that push pressure down on the legs, and that can cause be aggravating to a varicose vein. So make sure you're getting enough fiber. And rutin. I talked about rutin, I think, on one of the tapes. It's in buckwheat. Excellent. It's excellent for veins. Teenage acne. Well, you know what? You got to get those kids off that soda pop and the sugar. And think zinc if you have acne. And look at these foods here: sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. These are the foods that have the essential fatty acids. Next is cracked ears behind the cracked skin behind the ears. This is, if you look and you see cracks, this is could be B vitamins, also essential fatty acids. You'll often see this with people who are dry skinned and they have dandruff and they just aren't getting their nutrition they need in their diet. Now we're going to talk about dandruff. You heard me tell my story, I'm sure, earlier about the mailman. I was standing behind at the grocery store. He just looked like he had snow on his back. And he was buying candy and cookies and soda for his lunch. You need to be thinking B vitamins, the B vitamin foods, and again, essential fatty acids, raw nuts, seeds, olive oil. Get off the sugar. Get off the sugar. That's always applies straight on. White spots on the nails. Think zinc. You may have a zinc deficiency. So those are just a few things, a few signs and symptoms that you can watch. Isn't that interesting that we can kind of look at ourselves and see, by looking at our body, maybe some deficiencies that we have in some nutrition. Okay, well, now I want to move on to another topic, natural cleaners. You know, when you look at some of the cleaners we have today, they're so toxic. When I go to the local variety store, big store, I run. If I have to go down the fertilizer aisle, I literally run with my nose closed. It's terrible, the chemical smell. And you'll find that same smell when you get in the cleaning products. They're toxic. They're very toxic. One of my children, the one who had the allergies, he's so allergic to these things, you could just see he couldn't take these cleaners. And so it's nice to know you can make some natural things. So I will put these cleaners on the website. You will find them under products and services on video, and you'll find the natural cleaners. So you don't have to write all these down. But you just need to get a few basic things in your house and you can do a wonderful job with cleaning. Vinegar. You'll see, now this is a multi-purpose cleaner. This calls for glycerin and a few other things, and it's just put it in a spray bottle, make some pretty little labels, multi-cleaner. There you've got a nice natural cleaner that you can use that's not going to be toxic. Next we have a granite cleaner. Now this has rubbing alcohol, little dish soap, and glycerin. You can buy glycerin at a pharmacy for sure, and you can put essential oils. If you want to have a little smell, there's lemon and there's lime and there's different kinds. Whatever smell you like, put that in there, and you've got a little granite cleaner. And the rubbing alcohol is great for granite. Next we have laundry detergent. Look at this, 100 loads for $5. This is borax. You know, 20-multine borax, you can buy. I had a hard time finding it in Seattle. I had to search around to find it. But you can find 20-multine or just borax, natural soap. You can also buy something, I don't have it here, it's called Fels Naphtha, F-E-L-S-N-A-P-H-A, I think it is. It's an old-time soap. It's not non-toxic. This laundry soap, you can make this up. This has OxyClean, so you're going to get some disinfectant, some nice fragrance, and you know what? You can make that, and look at how much money you can save right there. And it's natural. Here we have a streak-free glass cleaner. Vinegar is wonderful to clean with alcohol. Look at that, cornstarch. I can't remember what the cornstarch does. There was a reason for it. I don't know why. But anyway, it works well for the glass-free, streak-free glass cleaner. Now we have a disinfectant spray. I love this one because this calls for hydrogen peroxide. You know, hydrogen peroxide is an amazing product. You can gargle with it. It kills. It will, you know, when you put it on a sore, it bubbles up. It kills. It's a disinfectant naturally. And so this is a disinfectant spray that has good things, but it also has the hydrogen peroxide, which is non-toxic, cheap. You can buy a bottle of that for 50 cents on sale at the drugstore. And there you go, a natural disinfectant spray. Okay, you know, I'm really passionate about what I teach. I think that you can probably see that. I've just had so much experience working with people who don't feel good, they're sick. And they've not gotten any help medically. They've gotten a lot of drugs and maybe surgery, but they want to get well. And isn't it just so exciting to know that there's steps you can take? And it's as simple as your kitchen cupboard. Does that mean there's not time and place for medicine? No. You need to be aware that there's times where you've got to get medicine and see a doctor. But boy, couldn't we make a difference in America if we all started making these kind of changes? We wouldn't have to go to the doctor so much. We wouldn't have to be in hospitals. We wouldn't need the medication. I'll tell you something. When I don't feel good, I don't even feel like praying. I'm down. It's like, everything just flows better when you feel good. And these things that you're learning on these tapes are all things that you can do to make you feel better. Okay, so now I want to tell you about some of my products here. Because I get so busy teaching, I forget, but I've got a book. The book has been in the marketplace for 10 years. The title is being changed again, so I'm going to tell you, it was Go From Toxic to Terrific, How to Survive the American High-Tech Diet. Now, it's going to be How to Survive the American High-Tech Diet by Going From Toxic to Terrific. So that's going to be the new title. There is a meal plan. I wrote this meal plan 10 years ago, and I've never done anything with it. It's fabulous. It's going to be a 7-week, it actually says 28-day right now, but it's going to be a 7-week plan. Each week, you eat for a specific body system. So like on week 1, you're going to eat for the brain. On week 2, you're going to eat for the bones. On week 3, you're going to eat for the heart. And you build. Now, the thing is you're going to be learning is all the foods you're going to be eating are all the whole foods we've been talking about. It's just that each week, one food, like if it's the brain week, you're going to be eating maybe more zinc-rich foods. It's a focus for that week, but you'll be learning as you go. And by the end of 7 weeks, hopefully, you could have done some major switches in your diet. There's also a complete shopping list in the book, what you need to buy, and there's also daily menus. 4 breakfasts, 4 lunches, and 4 dinners. One of them is vegetarian, every meal, so you can do that. So that's really good. Now this is available. The next thing I have is these videos. These 10 videos, which are going to be available on the website. I have written a workbook to go with them. So it's 10 lessons. And it's great if you want to maybe do a Bible study and let's get America. Let's start teaching people how to eat right and get well. So there's 10 sessions. You can do 1 a week. And it's just like any typical study you would do where you have a facilitator, and there's a facilitator guide where they will lead the class and you'll just talk. What did you learn? How was your diet? How could you cut sugar in your diet? Those sort of things for a typical 1-hour study. So that's available on the website. The last thing I put together, I've got a lot of things, but one thing that's on the website now, if you're interested in trying juicing, I've written a little ebook. It's called Juice to Lose. It has 20 juicing recipes and it explains all about everything you want to know about juicing, what kind of a juicer to buy, how to do it, how to prepare your produce, and it has also a meal plan. So you can actually add juicing to your meal plan if you want to do that. So it's a complete program too. And then finally, we talked about this early on, is the Waist Watchers winners. This is a big one. This is the 60 days of motivation that's delivered to your email, and it's about the way you think. I say you can do the diet you want. You can use one of my diets, you can use another diet, whatever you want to do. But this is going to help you change the way you think. Don't we need to do that? We need to change sometimes the way we think about things if we're going to make changes. So those are my products. And so you'll find all of those on the website. I'm so excited to be teaching you and talking to you, and I'll see you for video 9.